am. Computer being done. There it goes. All right, cool. I think I'm ready. I think we're doing it now. Hi guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing, and I totally forgot to turn on my lights. Give me just 1 second. Here. Okay. Sorry, I am a bit discombobulated today. This weekend has been not so great. So on Friday, I had to cancel stream because of the weather. We are supposed to actually get another storm today and tomorrow, but it's not supposed to come until like later on today. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it doesn't like mess with the stream. Hopefully it won't start until we're done streaming for the day. So I'm a little bit discombobulated, mostly because my schedule has been really, really off today. We survived Friday's storm with ne'er a scratch, but on Saturday, my dog, she got really, really sick, really, really fast, and we had to unfortunately put her down. So it's been sad and quiet around the house, and my schedule is completely discombobulated. So it's just things that normally I would do. I don't have to do it anymore. Like I don't have to do our walks out in the or out in the yard and stuff like that. So and it's been really quiet. No barking or anything like that. I still have my cat to keep me company, and he's a great a great companion. But yeah, my dog will be missed. So we're gonna power through, and we're gonna get through the stream anyway. So today what we are going to be doing is we are going to be redoing our T for our raised Smithy sign. I was unhappy with the T that I made the first time I attempted it, and the technique that I was using is called a split cross or a Friedrich's cross, depending on how you want to put that. So Oh, I'm so sorry to hear. Yeah, thank you, Mahalo. Welcome in. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, I'm probably gonna be a little bit less, energetic and exciting today, or excited today, but we're gonna get through this, and we'll adjust, and she's not suffering anymore, so that's a good thing. So like I said, we are going to redo our split cross, and so I have a nice blank here, and I've already cut this guy, so we don't have to spend the time like doing this. So it looks like we've got an ad incoming, and once that ad is over, I will start up the forge, and we'll kind of take a look at the blank and how that formed. This blank is a little bit better than the previous blank that I used. It's a lot thinner material, so the angle grinder could get through it a lot easier. So the slots are all the way through this time, unlike the last time. So hopefully when we unfold this, it'll be really, really nice looking. So let's see, we are on ad time at the moment. So I'm going to take a drink real fast and take a little breath, and I'll be good. All righty. Here. So this is the previous split cross that we had. And I was just really unhappy with it because it looks more like a blob than anything else. And I thought that maybe I could draw down the ends of this and make it more T-like. But it just wasn't, it was rolling on the edges, and I just wasn't happy with it. So I just decided that we are going to completely redo it. So that is the plan for today. Alrighty. I'm going to go to this camera, and then maybe you'll be able to see this a little bit better. So if you can see, I've got a cut all the way halfway up this piece of steel. And it cuts this bottom section right in half. It reminds me of like a clothespin almost, right? And so then I turn it 90 degrees, and then this top is cut halfway down here. So if we look at this from the corner, you can kind of see that the edges of both of these cuts are kind of in a line. So there will be a hole that kind of is formed so that when we unfold these two cuts. So that is the goal, or that is the idea behind this particular blank. So what we're going to do now is turn on the forge and start heating this up. All right. There we go. All righty. All right, now that we have the forge started up, we will put the material in there to heat it up. Alrighty, so we'll start heating that up. I'm gonna put my headphones on, that way I can kind of hear myself think. And my partner uses my headphones when he mows the lawn, and so I always have to readjust them on Mondays during the spring and summer, so that I can, see, them, so they'll fit on my head a little bit easier. All right. So I'll explain my setup on this anvil. So right now I have my 2-pound hammer. It's a favorite hammer of mine. And obviously I'm going to need a hammer to move the material. I have my 1/4-inch stock tongs so that I can remove the material out of the forge and kind of adjust it in the forge. And then I also have this set of tongs. These are not my favorite set of tongs, but they do have this nice V groove in the side. So what we're going to do is we are going to pick the material out of the forge with these tongs, and then grab them at a 90-degree angle with these tongs, so that we can use the edge of the anvil to split or to start unfolding the two slits into that plus shape. Welcome in, Crack Rock Steady. Could leave a fake spider in them, get the heart pumping before mowing. Yeah, that would be really funny, actually. Pick up the headphones, and inside there's like, a little rubber cockroach or spider. I used to have a whole bunch of cockroaches, like they were rubber, that I bought at one of our local toy stores, and I would leave them around in the house. But I stopped doing that because one time I had left it, and I forgot that I left a rubber one there, and in the shower, and I went to go into the shower, and I scared myself with the rubber cockroach that I myself put in there. So I don't do that anymore. I used to leave fake roaches that had slime in them. That's awesome. So the story of the rubber cockroaches is that we used to go, or when I was in college, we went to the local, or I guess it wasn't terribly local, but it was the haunted house in St. Louis, Missouri. And so one of the spooks, like when I was in high school, I built haunted houses. So when I go to one, it's about being scared. It's kind of like I enjoy looking at that the employees do to build the haunted houses and actors and things like that. So it takes a lot to scare me. And I think the actors at that particular haunted house figured that out because one of the actors towards the end came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and gave me a rubber cockroach. And I thought that was so cool that I asked where they got it, and they told me it was at this toy store. And so we went and bought a whole bag of them. And shenanigans ensued. My poor grandfather had so many spots in his shorts and socks. Yeah. So yeah, it would be fun to prank the headphones since they get stolen all the time. I keep telling him that we need to just buy a separate set. Like he can have these, and I'll buy a set of shooting ones. These guys are Bluetooth, and this antenna is for a radio signal. So I can turn on the radio or Bluetooth to my phone or whatever, but I never use it because when I'm streaming, that would be a distraction or another distraction. So I never use the Bluetooth anymore, and that's why he uses them, so that he can listen to his music while he's doing the lawn. So if I just get like regular shooting ones, I think that would be better. Then he can have his set and I'll have my set. So let's see how this is doing. Heat up pretty well. And I'm pretty happy with the speed at which it is heating, and it's because the material itself is very thin material. So the thinner the material, the hotter it gets faster. So we'll have plenty of heat to move that material. Let me look at this real fast. There we go. So yeah, I'm hoping that we can get the split cross all nice and taken care of. And I think that it won't take the whole stream today. So once that is completed, I have planned for the rest of the stream that we are going to take a look at our Y, and we're going to do a little bit of drawing down on the bottom of this Y. That way we can kind of make it look a little bit prettier and fix it up. And then we will have all of our letters done for our Ray Smithy sign. So this is the H that we completed on Wednesday of last week. So I was actually relatively happy with this one. I'd like to kind of maybe brush some of the scale off of here, but I think this will look really nice up there with the rest of our letters. So I think here I scale with the rest of them. That makes me really happy. It worked very well. So now I just got to make sure that T and that Y fit up there as well. And then we'll have the whole Smithy. So after that, on Wednesday, we're going to start doing a new project. I am going to start making a coal forge. So we're going to fabricate that out of sheet metal, and we're going to make some legs out of like angle iron and stuff. I've got a design. So we're gonna actually start by showing you how I kind of go about planning a project. So I will have that design for us on Wednesday, and then we're going to kind of take a look at it, and I will discuss the different things that I look for when I'm trying to gather materials and things like that. Hopefully that won't take too much time, and we should be able to like start gathering the materials and cutting things, and then getting everything all put together so we can start welding on maybe Friday. Hopefully, if I have all of the materials, it shouldn't take too terribly long. The last coal forge I made it in a day. So we'll see how long it takes. I don't have like an estimated time frame for this one, but hopefully we have all of the materials. I might have to take a trip to Shapiro, which is the steel supply in St. Louis. So we might take a field trip. We'll see how that works. But I'm really looking forward to making this coal forge. That way I can show you some forge welding and some of the nifty things that you can do with a coal forge. One of the projects I'd like to do is an axe head. I promised you guys I would do an axe head, and I'm going to follow through. Sometime this summer, we're going to do an axe head. All right. For the doing pretty well, so I think I might actually take that out of the forge, and we'll see what we can do with it for the moment. So I'm gonna shift us to cam 2, and I think I can actually turn on the record function real fast. There we go. Okay, ready to go. We're gonna start over here. Whoop, looks like I have already screwed this up a little bit. We're gonna do this, I think, maybe. There we go. That'll start separating the two pieces a little bit. Goodness gracious, I'm not doing so hot today already, but we'll manage. Okay. There we go. We'll start separating those two. And then we'll keep them in line. Maybe I'll grab a chisel. And then we'll grab a... I think that'll help us a little bit better. That one is a punch. It's just a random piece of stock. All right, we got a chisel. So maybe we'll start our separating the two legs with the chisel. That should work pretty well. We might come over here to the post vise if we need an extra set of hands, because that's what the post vise is for. All right. So like I said earlier, there is a chance that our stream will get cut off early today. We are expecting to see some storms rolling in again. They're supposed to be later on this afternoon and evening, and then into tomorrow. But from what the weather forecast said, in my area we don't have to worry as much. I live near the border of Missouri and Illinois, and the Missouri side is going to get hit a lot harder than here in Illinois. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll do fine. Knock on wood. So let's see. What else has been going on? I am looking into doing a few more field trips this or in the coming months. I've been reaching out to a few different of the Havana chapters to see if we can come and visit some of their meetings and see what there is to see. There's a lot of people across the country who enjoy and support the art of blacksmithing. So I'd really like to. I had a lot of fun at the BAM conference. So I want to see if maybe we can get to a few more of those. So right now I am in the middle of trying to correspond with Indiana, the Indiana Blacksmith Association. We'll see what comes of that. I'll keep you posted. They have a conference coming up here shortly. I'm also in the process of like getting things together so that I can do a couple other conferences this year. Some in the fall, I think. So I'm really looking forward to that because I had so much fun and we learned so much from the BAM conference the other week. And I thought it was a lot of fun and we learned a lot. So we'll see if we can't do that again. I think that the live stream actually went pretty decent. I've got a few ideas on how to improve things. We had 2 cameras running during the live stream. So we had a regular camera, like the camera that I usually use for our wide shot, that my partner was like using, and then we had attached my phone, streaming using Streamlabs on top of the camera. So the angle was a little bit odd. So that's why there was like that weird up and down, because he was trying to get the shots from both of you guys on the stream and the phone and the camera itself. So we are actually looking into figuring out a better system for that. So hopefully, if I can get to this Indiana one, we might be able to figure something out a little, or we'll be able to test some of those new rigs out. That would make me happy. Let's see what else is happening. I have a new video coming out on Wednesday that is going to be I got a chance to interview Tom Latney at the BAM conference a couple weeks ago. And so the video that is coming out on Wednesday is the video of that. So I'm really looking forward. He had a lot of really amazing things to say, and his demo was awesome. So I'm really looking forward to putting that out for you guys so that you can watch. And, it was a lot of fun talking to him. He was so kind and very nice, very knowledgeable. Can't you just borrow a big gimbal from work? I mean, there's that. We own a gimbal, which is a really odd thing to say, that we own a gimbal. But the reason that we didn't actually use it when we were in Sedalia is because it's a really big, heavy rig, and it's kind of obtrusive, and we were kind of trying to keep a lower profile, because like I said, not like I said, but what I had done is I emailed the director for the conference, like the coordinator, but like I don't think anybody else knew that we were going to be around, and so we wanted to keep a lower profile so that we didn't disturb anything. But I don't know, it's an idea. We might be able to use one. Yeah, the big steady ones are not subtle. Yeah, they're not. And I mean, like, when there are skinnier hallways in, like, the, between, like, the vendors, it can get a little bit hard to get around people when there are larger groups. So it's just a little bit easier the way that we were doing. It was a lot of handheld work. So my partner said that he kind of regretted it a little bit because he had a backpack full of, like, all the other gear that we had. We had a whole backpack, and then he had the camera with the phone, and so it worked all right, but I think we need to streamline it a little bit. I think that's the plan. But yeah, I will keep you guys posted. If I do get to Indiana, that will actually we'll be there on a Saturday. So I will probably, I'm kind of like debating whether I want to switch my Friday to that Saturday, or if I want to stream Friday and then do a bonus stream on Saturday. So I'll kind of, we'll play that by ear after I have, got a little bit more of the logistics planned out. And I will keep you posted on that one. All right, let's do another heat. That works pretty well. Got lots and lots of heat. So now I'm going to come over here, grab a hold like that. All right, that's going beautifully. I like that a lot. So now that we've got a good amount of separation there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back in the forge and heat up this section so we can start unfolding that. If I get it. So yeah, the Friedrich's Cross, or the split cross, is always a really good beginner blacksmith project. And the reason that it's so good as a beginner blacksmith project is because it allows you to kind of learn how hot you need the metal to be in order to move it easily. So we had heated the material really nice. So when I used the chisel, I didn't even have to use a hammer with it. I could just like pry it apart, or pry the two legs apart. So that is, an indication that I've allowed the material to heat enough that it moves very easily. So when a new blacksmith comes across this project, sometimes it takes a few attempts to kind of figure out how much heat and how long they need to keep that piece inside the forge in order to get it to move in a way that they want it to move. So this is actually going a lot faster than I had originally thought that it might. So, I mean, it's really nice knowing that I'm a little bit better at my, knowing when enough heat is enough. Uh, since I've been doing this for 10 years and all. But yeah, so I think we'll have plenty of time to work on our Y and make sure that both of the letters, both the T and the Y, are adequate to put up on the wall of projects. So I kind of left the piece of stock really, really long. So instead of getting a T shape, we're actually probably going to get more of a plus shape. Normally, when you do these blanks, you kind of cut off the top of one of the legs. So you've kind of got a longer side and a shorter side. And the reason you do that is because you're looking to make a cross as opposed to a plus. So right now we're making a plus. And I decided that I was going to just unfold it and make it into a plus so that we can kind of look at each of the arms of the piece of material and decide which one we like the best, the look of. And then we'll cut off, like we'll shorten the arms if we need to, like the arms and the top, to make that T shape. So all of the rest of the letters on our Smithy sign are going to be capital letters, whereas this T is going to be lowercase. And the reason it's going to be lowercase is just because I wanted to showcase those techniques. Each of the letters showcases a different technique. The S is a penny scroll. The M is a upset corner. You can kind of see that upset corner in the middle of the M. The I is the twists. So we did those 4 twists, and each twist was more and more complicated. So this one is that split cross. So we're really focusing on that, learning how much heat you need for a blacksmith project. Yeah, the big steady. Oh, I don't know why. Sorry. Like I said, I'm a little bit discombobulated. It's been kind of weird. My schedule is all up in the air, and I'm kind of trying to get back to normal. Cause yeah, big change. So I apologize. But like I said, we are going to continue with this split cross. When we're done with that, we will do the Y, which was a chisel cut. We took the piece of steel and we kind of we used one of these guys, a hot cut, or to hot cut, and split the piece of material in half. And then the H, which is this guy right here, we did a tenon here, and that was really good. So yeah, I'm actually really happy with this. I was a little bit afraid that it wouldn't work right, because I'm not amazing at rivets. Welcome in, Bluesy, welcome in. I'm glad you could make it. So yeah, like I said, we are in the middle of the split cross. So here in a second, I'll pull that out and then we will unfold the other half of it. Once we've unfolded both sides of it, we can kind of finesse it to make sure that it flattens out and we like the look of it. Then we'll decide which of the legs that maybe we want to cut off to turn it, or to make it from a plus and turn it into a lowercase t. So it looks like we've got an ad incoming. So once that ad is done, I'll probably pull the steel out of the forge again. So once I've got the split cross done, I kind of want to take a look at this Y. The transition between these two split sections is a little bit on the messy side, and that's something that happens quite a lot when you're doing a hot cut and you don't complete that hot cut. The transition becomes a little bit messy. It's a lot easier and cleaner to use an angle grinder when you need to do I guess a cut-in, and not, or like, it's a lot easier to use an angle grinder when you're doing a cut-in instead of cutting all the way through. It's a lot cleaner. Goodness gracious. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, we're going to draw down this base. Alrighty. So let's see. What else has been going on? The YouTube has been doing quite well. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with the videos that we've been producing. I've spent a lot more time recently trying to clean them up and make them a little bit higher quality, and it's starting to take a lot less time to do that, I guess. So I have more time to put into the stream, or I will have more time to put into the stream. So I'm pretty excited about that. I want to add a couple more emotes and a few more things for the stream. All right, let's do another heat. All right, so we are going to start with the chisel. Or we're going to start by dropping it. One or the other. Dropping all of it. Oh. There we go. Now we're going to start opening it just like so. So we've got a good opening there, and we'll heat that back up and we'll finish that. I feel like I'm floundering a little bit on the stream today, so I apologize for that. But I feel like I'll do better on Wednesday. Like I said, Wednesday we will start working on our coal forge, and I've got a design that I'm going to draw up, and then we're going to go over it, and I'm going to talk or walk you through how I go about starting a new commission or a project, because you start with like a drawing, and from that drawing with your measurements, that's how you know how much material that you need to get a hold of, and how much material you need to use, and then from there you can kind of start building it, cutting and building the pieces. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a really informative video, and I really like, sharing all of the different processes together. Let's see. I've got several pounds. Well, I have several pounds of coal. I actually have about 200 pounds of coal that we can get through. And then after we've burned through the 200 pounds of coal, I will have to actually find a different supplier of coal. But I think that I might be able to get a hold of someone from BAM to kind of give me an idea of maybe where I might be able to find some coal. The place that I used to get coal for my coal forge, they stopped selling coal. I actually bought the last 200 pounds of coal that they were selling. It was a true value out in the middle of nowhere, and they had bought like pallets upon pallets of it, and I was buying through it, and I think they accidentally bought it. I really don't think that they meant to buy blacksmithing coal. I think they meant to buy like heating coal, and it didn't work out for them. So I did end up buying a lot of it from them, but we'll have to find someone else who sells it in the area. All right, let's do another heat. And we'll do that. Okay. like there is a tiny bit of in the center area here that isn't quite cut all the way through. So I think I'm gonna heat this back up and we'll use the chisel to finish that cut. It is almost through, but not quite. But you can already see that the plus that we're making. So we're getting there already. This is gonna be a fast project, I think. I kind of think it looks maybe like an octopus a little. Would you like to do a cool, it was too hot today? It's not too bad out today. Um, the storms that we had last weekend kind of cooled it down a little bit. So we're like in the 76 range. It's supposed to cool down a little bit more with the storms that are still yet to come. Later on this afternoon and evening, we're supposed to get some heavy rain. So that should cool us down quite a bit. This weekend, it was in the 60s for quite a while. So, yeah. Breathe in instead. Wow. No, do not say that. I have done plenty of 5-minute projects that turn to take 4 hours in the end. Oh yeah. That's happened to me quite a few times. I definitely know that very, very well. Like this project, the Raise Smithy sign project, I thought that was going to take me 2 weeks max. And with the storms, my health, and the other issues that we've been having, like my internet issues, it's taken like a month to do this sign. So, I mean, I know all too well about a project that you think is going to take a little bit of time and it takes forever. Uh, yeah, skinny. Yak skinny. Yeah. So, I don't know. I do my best. Although, like, I kind of feel like it is difficult for me to be able to kind of set expectations around timing or like the amount of time that a project is going to take me because I know how long things used to take me back when I was like still really healthy and came out here for like 8 hours at a time, right? And but now that I have some physical limitations, it's been a struggle to kind of figure out how to translate how long it used to take to how long it will take. And I think I'm still learning about that and about my limits and myself. So, um, it's been a journey, and I feel like as we've continued working out here together, it has increased the amount of effort and work and stamina that I have. So I feel like my project times are very much in flux right now. So, I really don't have a time estimation for like our next project or the project after that. So, I mean, I can promise you that I will be out here anytime that I am able on our normal streaming dates. I can promise you that I will do my very best to have 5 shorts and 1 long form video for YouTube. I mean, we got to do what we can do. Like I say, most equipment, every 5-minute job is one rusted bolt removed from turning into a week-long project, and that's so true as well. Um, so I don't know if I've talked to you guys about my bathroom project. So back in 2020, um, we were given the option to hook onto the city sewer because we were on a septic tank, right? And so we really wanted to get off the septic tank because it's just a pain in the butt in this area to get that pumped every year. So we decided we wanted to hook onto the city sewer. And so we had someone come in and give us an estimate on how much it would cost to do that. And that project is still ongoing because what happened was we found out that one of the toilets, the floor underneath of it had rotted through, and we were just a few months away from that toilet falling through that floor. So we had to pull up that entire floor. And in order to do that, we had to pull out the shower. We had to replace floor joists. We ended up having to replace all of the ceiling. We had to replace all of the drywall on the walls. It's still ongoing. We finally got all the tiling in, and I mean, I've been trying to do it myself, but it's just so much effort. I got it to a point where I just can't, or I've got all of the tiling in, and I told my partner, once I get the tile in, the rest is up to you. So, he's still working on it. All right, let's do another heat. See, that's why I'm happy to live in the country where they make proper houses. Yeah, definitely. It would have been so much easier. Okay, so we're going to come over here. And I think I'm still just going to use my regular forging hammer. Ordinarily, I would never do that. But we don't actually have a lot to get through. So I think it'll be all right. We've got a little bit that we need, a little bit where the angle grinder didn't get all the way through. So we're going to try and fix that. All right. We'll heat that back up again and we'll see about flattening it out. But yeah, I guess when we bought our house, I knew that the toilet was a little bit wobbly, but the inspector that we had, because in the U.S. we have like people who will come and inspect the house and make sure that there isn't anything or any hidden flaws in it. And he told us that the toilet was rotten, but he said it wasn't going to be an issue. That it wasn't. It would. That we needed to secure it down, but it wouldn't be a big deal if we didn't. So we just kind of went with it, and turned out that the toilet was leaking and that we had spongy flooring. So we had to take it out. I mean, walls out of stone, ceiling, stone, concrete, a little bit of wood with the roof, but still, yeah. A lot of our house, most of it is bricks. So like the whole outside of the house is brick, and the inside, most of it is like stucco. Like we have stucco walls, but there's like lath and stuff inside of it, and all of our flooring is. We've got hardwood floors in the main section of the house, and then there is a second half of the house that was added later, and the difference of materials between the two sections of the house, it's such a stark difference. It's a lot worse quality. The main part of the house was built in like the 1940s, 1950s, and then the expansion was done in like the 70s or 80s. So the processes are just like really different. Inside and outside. I mean, that's quality. I mean, I'm sure your house has lasted for hundreds of years, want to compare ages of houses. Well, like I said, this was probably built in like the 1940s or 50s. My parents' house was built in the 1800s, like 1890s. But I mean, there's hardly anything in the United States that's as old as any of the buildings in Europe. So many of the buildings in Europe are like 1,000 years old. Some of them more, depending on where they're located. It's just different. The United States is such a young country overall. All right. Mine was built in 1327 or so. Wow. I'm going to do another heat real fast. 1300s. Jeez. Looks like it didn't go quite all the way through, but I think it'll be all right. We'll just hammer through a little bit further, and then we'll take a look at it in comparison to some of the other stuff that we are doing. Like I said, you can't really tell or we can tell that they haven't gone all the way through into each other because there's not a hole forming there. So we'll have to make it go where we want it to. Mine is just 800 years old almost. That is a really old house. A really old house. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me because, like I said, there are so many buildings that are 1,000 years old. It's churches, public spaces and buildings. I can't, I just imagine that houses last and last and last, and they're like multi-generational houses. Less so here. There are certain houses, or there are some houses that are multi-generational houses, and relatively old houses. But there are so many more newer houses in the United States, especially in the Midwest. We are constantly building brand new subdivisions in the area where I'm originally from, as well as here where I am at now. I'm gonna check the clips on my cameras real fast. There we go. So I'm thinking that I might want to start putting the Y in the forge to kind of start heating that up a little bit, because the bottom area is so thick. I really want the heat to soak in towards that middle of this Y shape, so that when we draw that down, it doesn't cause any issues. There is a mosquito that's buzzing around my head. It's been so wet or in the area that I think there are more mosquitoes this year, because it's been kind of swampy, especially in my yard. My yard has like a little gully in it, and when it rains really hard, it fills with water, and like all of the water bugs, the ones that breed in water, there's just like they explode every year. Kimchi with fries. Differences in building quality can be extreme in older houses. Bought a house in the 1920s out in the country where people didn't care about building codes once. They added a bedroom just using 4x4 posts on a field stone directly on the ground for footers. Literally tied a chain to it and dragged it off with a truck. Wow. Welcome in, Kimchi. Welcome to the stream. That's crazy. I mean, I've known of people who have had things like that happen, to their houses, where it's just like somebody slapdash some add-on or addition to it, and then somebody comes in and tries to apply code to it, and they just can't, so they have to like tear it down. So yeah, it's just crazy sometimes what people end up doing, you know. Uh, but 4x4s on flagstones, that kind of reminds me of a lot of deck building. Because I am very into makerspace sort of stuff like blacksmithing and glass blowing and pottery and things like that. I have a heavy art background, and because of that, I oftentimes Facebook will post, or like they'll put stuff in my feed that's like contractor like fails and things like that, and I'm constantly getting like deck building where they build the deck with like the 4x4 posts, and they're not even touching the flagstones. There's some scary stuff out there. So, I mean, I guess I'm grateful that my house is relatively sturdy overall. I mean, it needs a little bit of a roof lift, but other than that, it's a pretty sturdy house. It's made of, brick, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. At least I hope not. On Friday, there were some tornadoes in St. Louis, and in St. Louis, they have a lot of really, really old brick houses that have been there since the 1920s. And the tornado, there was one that passed through Forest Park and through there and into some of the neighborhoods in that area, and several of the brick homes, like the old ones, were very damaged. It was just like walls are gone. So, as much as I say that my house is sturdy and I'm very grateful for that, you never know what's around that corner. So, I'm grateful every day I have a house, Oof, yeah. So I lucked out on Friday. The storm didn't come near or too near me. Like I said, I'm within an hour of St. Louis, Missouri, but I'm not like in St. Louis, Missouri. So yeah, we had thunder, storm, rain, wind, but we didn't have any hail or tornadoes. So that is really fortunate. There was a tornado, or that same tornado that went through Forest Park actually went really close to the university that I went to. The tornado crossed the river into Illinois, and was really near the university, Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. And I went to school there, so that was kind of scary reading about, as far as I'm aware, everybody there was safe. But lots and lots of damage. All right, let's pull this piece out and we'll see about flattening out a little bit further. All right, so we've got a nice plus or X, what have you. So now it's kind of time to try and straighten that out and shape it the way we want it to be. I think I'm a lot happier with this one. So if we take the H and we look at the T with it, it's still a little on the shorter side, but overall I think it's all right. I think what I want to do is I want to take off some of these side edges, like the cross section of it, to kind of make it look a little bit more T-like and less like a plus. But I think overall I'm pretty happy with that. I can live with it. We might do a little bit of thinning, like this direction, but I'm happy with this direction. Whoa. So I can put this guy away. Actually, you know what? I said I was going to, or this will actually be useful when I start working on the Y, so I think I will keep it. Thinking ahead. Not my strong suit, but I try. It's one of those things with blacksmithing where you have to kind of think a few steps ahead of what you're doing so that you don't end up pulling your piece out of the forge and then losing all of the heat that you built up by leaving the piece in the forge. You know, if you don't have your anvil set up, or if you're not quite sure how you want to go about doing if you don't know what process you're doing before you pull it out, it's kind of, you end up losing all your heat. So we've got an starting soon, and it's actually starting to get a little warm in here. So I think I'm going to turn on the fan real fast. We are heading into the spring and summer season, and so it can get really, really hot in here, really hot, and like 120 degrees Fahrenheit. And let me do the math. Where's the math? One 20. 48.889 degrees Celsius. That's pretty hot. But yeah, so it gets really hot in the shop. So I've got the shop fan, and we might add a second one. We've been talking about that because the cameras get a little bit on the warm side. And then I tend to sweat through my clothes, so I sweat a lot. And I end up drinking so much water. And my partner, we were at the bulk item sale, store the other day, and they had giant packs of Gatorade, and he was like, let's just get you some Gatorade so that you can replenish all of the salts that you sweat out. It's starting to get really hot, and I don't want you to dehydrate. So I very much appreciated that. So, I might get with some Gatorade here at some point. Yep. So, what else is going on? I keep saying that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing my best. I promise. I will be better by Wednesday, at least for this. But yeah, it's been interesting. Goodness gracious. So I have my garage door open so I can kind of see. I live on a busy road. And there's somebody backing into a neighbor's driveway. It's weird. I'm sorry. I'm very easily distracted right now. I need to focus. Sorry, guys. Alright. Let's see. What else have we got to do? We've got the Y to clean up. We've got a little bit of cleanup work on the T. Like I said, I think we're going to cut off the side arms a little bit shorter so that it looks a little bit more like a T, less like a plus. Then we will have a good T to hang up on the side. And then we'll start working on drawing down that Y tail. So let us do another heat. So the T, like the bars here, are a little bit cockeyed, so I'm kind of trying to straighten that out a little bit. Goodness. All right. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. A little bit of flattening, but overall I think it's all right. So I think I'm going to put this up for just a little bit. We might come back to it later. So put this over here to cool off a bit. And then we're going to go and take a look at this Y shape. Yeah, let's do this. So I'm really looking at drawing this down and making this a lot thinner. So yeah, we're going to do that. And then, like I said, we're going to clean up this transition a bit. We're probably going to stick this in the vise and use the chisel to kind of go all the way down there to clean that up. And I might come back later. I might come back later with an angle grinder. So lazy approximation of F to C is to subtract 30 and then divide by 2. Have to do that a lot watching streams. Yeah, I just Googled it. So as far as Celsius to Fahrenheit, and I try to remember to translate them, between the two. What is that? Oh, I know what that smell is. That smell is burning plastic. We're good. I normally use my swage block, which is just a block of iron, cast iron, as a cooling rack. But I had accidentally dropped one of the little caps on the propane. They're like blue plastic, similar to uh, the milk rings on gallons of milk in the U.S. and so it's a really cheapo, waxy plastic, and it melts really, really quickly, and the arm of that T ended up hitting it, so it smells like a melted candle in here. Anytime you are in a Smithy, if you smell something burning, always check it out, because you never know. I've seen things spontaneously combust in the shop where, you know, there's no sparks anywhere near anything, and they'll just come, or they'll go up and light up on their own. Particularly if you have rags that have oil on them, or, you know, stains or anything like that, that has a tendency to spontaneously combust. So if you smell something burning and it's not supposed to be burning, check that out immediately. All right, so I'm gonna put these away, I think. For now. And I'll put these over here. Maybe I can make things work today. Let's clean the scale off of our anvil. It is important to clean your anvil, or the scale off of your anvil, because it has a tendency to jump, and it's very hot, it'll burn you. So we've got plenty of heat on that Y, so let's take a look at it and see about drawing out that tail. And thank you so much, Kimchi, for that follow. I greatly appreciate that. We love it when new people join our community. Our Y is starting to twist a little bit as we are drawing down this base. So I want to take a look at that and fix that before we go too much further. Because if I don't fix that, I risk breaking it off. And I would hate to do that. It is always better to fix errors as you make them, so that a small error does not turn into an incredibly large problem later on. Out of water already. I asked my partner if we could put like a water cooler in here so that I can refill my water instead of having to like make 2 or 3 water bottles every day when I come out here. So we'll kind of figure that out. Water number 2. So are you not adding borax? Welcome in, Diedrich. So I don't add borax. Okay. So the reason blacksmiths add borax a lot when they are blacksmithing is because it is a flux that cleans the metal and keeps the metal clean when you are forge welding. Right now, I'm not doing any forge welding. So I don't need the flux. And if I'm being completely honest, I really hate using flux. Specifically that borax, 20T mule borax. And the reason that I hate it is that when it melts, it turns into a glass. And that glass will actually start eating away at fire brick. Um, so if you take a look at the brick that's right here, you can kind of see that there's a little bit of gnarly business going on there. And that's because of borax melted on top of that brick. And so it eats away at the sandy brick. And so I don't use borax unless I absolutely have to. And usually when I am doing it, I will use it in my coal forge because it does less damage in the coal forge than it does in the propane forge. So, yeah. I thought it was important not to make errors as a smithy. You can fix any errors you make. Yeah, I mean, you can fix most errors when you are blacksmithing, but there are certain amounts of error that you can't fix. Or that, I guess, not that you can't fix it, it's that it would be a great inconvenience to fix it. So there are times where I start forging something, it's going really well, I make an error, something happens, and I throw it away because it would be easier to start from scratch than to fix the error. But typically, you can fix almost any error that you make in the smithy shop, whether that's by continuing to hammer, or if that's by welding something back on. But yeah, there's so many ways that you can fix your errors, and that's why I love blacksmithing. You can fix your errors, and you can, it's kind of like you can have happy accidents where things aren't going exactly the way you want them, but they still look fine. There's something very zen about it, and I can never make that happen when I'm doing woodworking. So I hate woodworking, and blacksmithing is my craft of choice. But yeah, back to the borax. I do have borax in the shop that I do use when I forge weld. It's in a tin on the shelves over there. But yeah, I don't need it right now because it's less important to prevent scale in this case. All right, let's do another heat. So there was a little bit of a twist in this leg right here. So I just untwisted it. I think it's starting to, look a little bit better. There is a little bump there, so I might be able to fix that here. Yeah, that's a lot better now. So we'll turn this over and put it back in the forge. Yeah, I do carpentry and welding. I always say I like welding better because you can add material back, unlike welding. Exactly. Measure once, cry twice. That's the rule in carpentry. That is totally the rule in carpentry. At least it is for me. Uh, Typically, when I'm trying to do carpentry, because like before I started streaming, I did a lot of furniture, and most of the furniture that I made was like I just made the legs and the bases for things, and then I try and do crude woodworking for like the tops of like my benches and chairs and things like that, and I was always terrible at it. So it ended up getting to this point where I had to make everything twice. Anytime I tried to do woodworking, I would do something wrong, and then I'd have to completely, buy more material and redo it. And I just got to this point where I was like, you know what? I would rather not do the woodworking. Maybe I could hire it out. But then I ended up getting sick, so I had to stop going and doing it anyway. So, when I am next able to make furniture, we'll see how we go about doing the woodworking. You sound a lot like Bob then. You never make mistakes, you just have happy little accidents. Yes, Bob Ross was right. Happy accidents. That's also why I'm not a big fan of bladesmithing, because there are a lot less instances of happy accidents and a lot more instances of, oh shit, I just broke my blade, or I slipped on the grinder, or and then you have to start from scratch, or completely resurface, or completely reshape your blade. So a lot less in the department of happy accidents. Where are we? We are at an hour and a half. We're actually chugging through. I didn't think that we had been working all that long, to be honest. So we've got about an hour left in the stream, so we've got plenty of time to draw out that material quite a bit. It's got a lot of girth in there, and so thinning that out and lengthening it so that we can get curl that tail on the Y shape. That's where I want to go with this. So we've got plenty of time. We'll definitely finish this project today. So that's really exciting. We will start a brand new project on Wednesday. How hot is my furnace? Let's see. So it is about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me see, about a Celsius conversion. 1371 and some change degrees Celsius. So pretty hot. But it is lower than the melting point of iron. So this particular forge doesn't get quite as hot as a lot of other people's forges do. Like if I were to use coal, it would get a little bit hotter than that. And it does get hot enough, or like a typical forge does get hot enough to melt iron, especially the coal ones, because when you're using coal, if you forget what you're doing and you just like let your metal sit in the fire, it'll start burning and melting. So you got to be really careful. But yeah, very, very hot forge. Depends on the grade of iron. I mean, I suppose that's true. Pure iron is, or I guess cast iron, the melting point is 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. I haven't done that conversion into Celsius. But yeah, so I've done a decent amount of iron pouring, so pouring molten metal into molds. But the grade of cast iron, the grade of iron that I've used in the past has been cast iron. So yeah, it's like anytime you add something else to a base material, it lowers that melting point. So a lot of steel, you're adding carbon and other materials into your iron to create an alloy, and that will continue to lower the temperature that it melts at. So yeah, you are right. It depends on the grade. Right now I am using 1019 mild steel. It is construction grade steel, the same stuff that you would use for construction girders and rebar and things like that. And so it has a decent melting point. It's kind of lower. It's very soft. It is not a high carbon steel. It will not hold an edge. But there is a steel supply less than around an hour away in St. Louis. So it's somewhere in the. It depends on traffic, but about an hour away. Um, And yeah, so typically I will buy construction grade mild steel for most of our projects here. They do actually have some tool steels. Most of the tool steels that they have, or that my metal supply carries, are not uh, a grade of steel that I would want to forge. Uh, and turn into a knife, but they do they have them for industrial parts like jackhammer bits and things like that. So yeah. Vanilla flavor mild steel, yes. Vanilla flavor steel, or the original. Although, if you really think about it, vanilla isn't really like, it's not plain. It's a really exotic flavor. Uh, it takes a lot of effort to get into some vanilla. I know a lot of people are like, vanilla is plain ice cream, but if the spiced vanilla is actually relatively rare and hard to get a hold of. But yeah, mild steel could be considered the vanilla ice cream, of steel. All right, I'm gonna do another heat. I've got just enough time before the next ad starts. We're getting a little bit of thinning out using the horn. And the reason that we are using the horn is because there is a lot less surface area coming into contact with the steel that I'm trying to draw down. And that actually increases the pressure and the squeezing power of both the hammer and the anvil on the steel. Tool steel equals saw blades, or saw blade ruiner. I'm bad for grabbing scrap and not paying attention to the grade. Usually tool steel on my side would be tungsten. Yeah, tungsten's really awful to try and forge. It's very brittle, and so it doesn't like to stay in one piece. But yeah, it's very important to know what type of steel that you're trying to use, so that you can pay attention to, so that you know what processes it will survive and your tools will survive and what it won't. So you can definitely make tool steel a lot softer by heating it up and then doing a process called normalization or annealing. And normalization is reconstructing the crystalline structure of the material. And that is a process of raising the metal to its designated temperature and then covering it in a heat dissipating substance and slow cooling it. So that is normalization. And then if you are annealing it, that is softening the steel. and that makes the crystalline structure a lot larger, so it moves a lot easier. So you will raise the temperature of the steel to its designated temperature, and then you just allow it to cool at a natural rate, and that should soften the steel in the process called annealing. So when I use the horn of the anvil, the amount of the surface of the horn of the anvil, it's a lot lower than if I were to try and draw out on the face of the anvil. So I like to think of it like when you are walking in dirt or mud, and you're walking in regular boots. They kind of sink in there, but it's kind of at an even rate throughout the entire tread of your boots. So like your work boots, they'll get a little bit muddy, but it's kind of even, and you can still walk a bit, right? Well, if you do the same thing in high heels, the heel of that high heel is going to sink into the mud instantaneously, because there is less surface area to distribute the pressure along. So it makes it a lot harder to walk, right? So that excess pressure, by reducing the surface area, is what we're trying to do. We want that movement to go faster. So do you buy steel like in carbon grade? So when I go to the steel supply, they all have, like, the steel is all labeled by what grade it is. So if I'm looking, and I mean, they also have like a scrap heap where it's kind of like a crapshoot as what you're getting. But typically, they do have everything labeled, and so I will specifically get 1019. Occasionally, I will get 1095. If I'm looking for tool steel, they have a lot of A2, which is a pretty decent for dies and things of that nature. Like the dies that I have on my shop press, those are made from A2. That's an air cooling steel. So, that's how I kind of judge. And I used to have an app in my phone that would tell me the temperatures that I needed for the annealing temperature and the forging temperature and stuff. So that's kind of how I decided which grades of steel I wanted to use. And an ad just started, so I have another question here, or another comment that I will respond to once that the ad is done. And then I also have a follower to thank. So once that ad's done, we will get back on track. And thank you all for, bearing with me today. Like I said, I'm a little bit discombobulated, but I think things are starting to get a little bit better, Thank you all for, commenting for me, and, so that I can think about blacksmithing and stuff. It is a lot easier to come up here and live stream when I actually have stuff to riff off of. So, when you guys comment, it is a lot easier for me to just respond to those comments and come up with topics all the time. And today especially. So, thank you guys. So, yeah. Let's see. Looks like the ad is done. I wish Gunter Lawless 420 says, I wish I had a forge. I'd probably burn my house down. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of easy to burn your house down with a forge if you don't know what you're doing. And I mean, if I didn't, I was a little bit nervous the first time I started up a forge in my garage like 15 years ago. But over the years, it's gotten easier and easier to kind of identify any problems that could cause a fire. Like I said earlier, you know, if ever you smell something that is burning that you know is not supposed to be burning, always check that out, no matter what, because you know you never know. You got to make sure that you're safe in the shop. Well, going to the scrapyard is usually a treasure trove. It is a treasure trove. I love that. Gunter Lawless 420, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the community. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays every week, or at least I try to. Sometimes when it's stormy, my internet connection gets a little bit spotty, and when it's windy, because here in the United States we have cable internet, and for whatever reason, they hang the cables from these posts up in the air. So when the wind gets whipping, those cables start jostling, and they don't like it. So I do my best to stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but occasionally I do miss one or two. But I try to keep people posted on that on the Discord if you'd like to join that as well. So yeah, I think I've had a couple people ask me about forge safety recently. I had somebody ask about lighting a gas forge on YouTube, and then you guys have asked me now. So I don't know. Do I need to make a video on forge safety and like lighting that and stuff? I could probably do that. Best knives come from car blades. I mean, you can get a lot of really good knife making steel out of a car. Like spring steel is really good. Like for the shocks on a car, you've got like the little the springs. Uh, some of them are like, you know, the round springs that, you know, they're exactly how you imagine them. And then there's also that leaf spring material that more modern cars tend to have, where it's just like long pieces of spring steel and or like stacks of longer spring steel. Both of those are really good for making knives. Um, Typically, that is about a 1085-ish, somewhere in that range. It's a little less convenient to work than the 1095, but it still functions pretty well. It's still relatively high carbon. It's still going to keep your edges. And then other metals that are actually surprisingly good is lawnmower blades. So when you mow your lawn, they've got the blade underneath the deck. Those make actually pretty decent weapons. I've made a couple machetes out of those. They're a little bit on the brittle side, but you can make them work. Oh yes, you call it leaf on your side. Yes, I do. We call them leaf steel or leaf springs. Yeah. I don't know why. I mean, I don't really think they look like leaves personally, but I don't know. Maybe people do. We also have coil springs. Those are also very good for making blades. I've actually made a few non-sharp blades out of a coil spring. This one right here. This one right here. This is a 2-foot long rapier blade. It's really nice. It's got a little bit of spring to it. You know, it's really light, really straight. So this is it was supposed to go on a rapier, but the client wasn't ready for it, and then it never got ready for it. So I still have it in my shop. So this is actually was made for SCA fighting, and so that's why it has a clipped tip. because they put these like little round, like, I don't know, blunt edge on there, so they don't want them to be pointy so that it'll go through the blunted end. So I always clip the tips on the SCA blades. Hey, L Teller. Which end of the forge do I stick my hand in? Yeah, huh? A coil spring is a decent material, but bike chain makes great Damascus steel. Bike chain does make beautiful Damascus steel. I haven't actually gotten into doing a lot of Damascus steel, and part of the reason for that is because I spent most of my time as a blacksmith using a gas forge. It's just a lot easier for me to get gas